Yeah.
One thing I really try to do with everything in my business is position, even in my daily contact with my accountant or my bookkeeper, I try to make sure everything I say is positive in a positive way. I
Yeah.
try not to have like, well, we got a problem.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to a contractor, well, I have a situation that I need some help.
Yeah.
You know, People react so much better
Yeah.
when they know there's not doom and gloom.
Welcome to the Designer's Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kate Bendewald. If you're tired of one-size-fits-all advice to running your interior design business, you're in the right place. Join me each week as we dive into topics to help you run a thriving interior design business without the hustle. We'll talk about the business of design, but also mindset and mental health, because I know when you thrive, so will your life and business. It wasn't that long ago that I stepped away from my corporate interior design job to build my own design business so that I could realize my own creative dreams, have more time with the people I love, and serve my clients at the highest level while making more money than I ever could have working for someone else. It wasn't always easy, and I made my share of mistakes along the way. Fast forward to today, and I've learned a thing or two. Since then, I've built multiple six-figure interior design businesses on authentic word-of-mouth referrals with many repeat clients. And I want to share it all with you, the ambitious, inspired, and I get it, occasionally overwhelmed interior designer who shares this dream of transforming lives through the art of interior design. You can do this. Thank you for letting me spend part of this day with you. Let's get to it. My guest today is Andi Morse of Morse Design in Atlanta, Georgia. Today, Andi shares how she believes offering multiple services is the key to getting your foot literally and figuratively in the door of prospective clients. We also talk about how good processes are so key to protecting your creative energy. And finally, we're going to talk about how hiring has enabled her to do more, what she's able to do now that she wasn't able to do before. You are going to love Andi's down-to-earth sensibility to help run an efficient and creative design firm. Please welcome Andi Morse to the show. Well, good afternoon, Andi. Welcome. How are you? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I am so looking forward to hearing more from you. I've been enjoying reading and learning a bit about you and your backstory. You're also a girl mom, I understand. So I am too. I'm looking forward to hearing a bit about that. But I would love for us to start by sharing with our listeners a little bit of your backstory. So you're based out of Atlanta. And I understand you were born and raised there, correct? And
That
now
is
you're back.
right.
So
Yes,
tell me
yeah,
a little bit about your backstory and how you found yourself at the helm of this interior design firm.
sure. Well, it's interesting. This is kind of my second half of life that this all started. Like you said, I'm a girl mom. I was really just a stay-at-home mom when my kids were young.
Hold on, I'm going to pause you right there. You can't say just a stay-at-home mom.
This is correct. You're right. And it actually probably was the best training I could possibly have for
Yeah.
doing what I do now.
Yes,
In
exactly.
terms of, helping me be organized, create processes, all of that. All of that came from just a carryover of my personal life.
Exactly.
So, my kids were, I have three girls. They're all out of the house now. But at the time that I came into this business, I have two of my girls are twins. They're my youngest ones.
Oh my
And
gosh, I just interviewed someone with twin kiddos earlier this morning. That is a whole other ball game, raising twins.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
on.
yes. But they were in college.
Okay.
And so I was kind of at loose ends a lot. And, I was doing a lot of going to lunch with friends, things like that. I was a little bored, but I wasn't really willing to admit I was bored. And I had a friend who really just happened to like my taste. And so she was doing some stuff in her house and she asked me to come over. We started talking and she goes, I'd really like to hire you. And I'm like, well, I'll help you, but I'm not going to let you pay me. And she was really emphatic of saying to me, if you're going to do this, you have to charge me. So it kind of, and I charged her, believe me, a minimal amount, but it was the point of charging and not doing it for free that really got me going. I think had I done it for free, I don't know that I would have taken it as seriously. But because she was paying me, I
Mhm.
took it much more seriously. And
Yeah.
it kind of just went from there. It became word of mouth.
Yeah.
Another person hired me. I had hardly anything to begin with. And then it just, over the months and years, is just ballooned into
Mhm.
something big.
Yeah.
So, and it's really the second half of my life, which has been really great just because I don't have things like my children that I
Yeah.
had to occupy so much of my time anymore. So this has become my child.
No doubt about it. I would imagine that it would sort of invigorate life a little bit as now that your kids are you guys are in a new era of your life. I have to admit, so my kids, I'm a little bit behind you, a little bit in terms of raising children. My kids are 11 and 8, and when they were little, I felt, and I've worked the whole time that they've been, most of the time that they've been, around. And
Mhm.
when they were young, I felt like I had an eternity with them. And just recently, especially with my little one, who is such a sweet little baby, even though she's 8, she's not a baby, but she's just my little snuggle bunny. But
Right.
every day I can see her getting a little bit more mature, a little bit more insightful, a little bit more curious about the world, and like growing up so fast. And there's a part of me that is like, wants to just put work on pause and pause this time with them because I'm going to be where you are before we know it, where they're off
Right.
living their own lives and doing their own things.
Right.
And it just feels like, oh my gosh, somebody stop the clock. This is happening.
100%.
Yeah,
It
and
goes
I know
by
that that time
so
of life
quickly.
can be very exciting for different reasons, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. So here you are, you were with them, now they are off to college or doing whatever they're doing with life, and you have poured yourself into this career. Tell me about your services and what you have decided. Sorry, when was this? When did you sort of start
So
this?
this really started around 2015.
Okay, so it's been almost a decade now.
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
pretty incredible. So here you are. You've probably learned, well, not probably, for sure learned a ton over
Yes.
these years. So one of the things you have said is that you believe that creating more than one type of service is a great way to get your foot in the door, as well as having additional streams of income. So I want you to elaborate on this a little bit on why you really feel like having a menu of services is a really important aspect of your business.
Well, I think, first of all, people are looking for all kinds of different help with their house.
Yeah.
And, not everyone can really afford a designer. Of course, I think all designers want all full home jobs,
Yeah.
but sometimes you can't take a full home job because, they don't want to hire you for the full house, not just because of money, because they kind of want to see what you can do. And
Yeah.
so besides full service design, I offer what I call um, it's a, I call it like a 2 hour it's a 2 hour consult.
Yeah.
And basically someone who wants designer help but doesn't want the commitment of designer can call me. I come in for 2 hours, I sit down, I bring my computer, we figure everything out. They come up with questions for 2 hours. It can be the layout of the room, sizing of furniture, sizing of rugs. It can be to the point of actual furniture pieces.
Sure.
And when I do it, I deal only retail, but
Mhm.
they leave with all these ideas, all these actual links, things they can purchase so that they can kind of do it themselves. And what
Hmm.
ends up happening, if that becomes successful, a
Hmm.
lot of times I get calls back because they don't have the time anymore to do that. And they
Hmm.
want someone to come in and do it all. And they've worked with me, they know how it's not hiring a stranger anymore. So
Right.
it's gotten my foot in the door.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will do it, and at the end, they're like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. Will you just
Yeah.
take it over? You know, and
Yeah.
so it's been a really good benefit in terms of producing leads for me.
Right. So you can essentially position your consultation as, look, this can be a great jumping off point for us for a full service engagement or a longer term engagement, or it can be kind of a one and done thing. The choice is yours, but you're really sort of giving that ownership of how do we want to treat this back to your client. So, question for you, when you go into a consultation, are you aware of their intentions? And would you treat the consultation any differently if you knew this was somebody who was wanting to potentially hire you for a bigger project versus you're coming in and you kind of know this is going to or could be just like this one and done sort of offering of help? Do you treat it the same way regardless, or do you treat them a little bit differently? Not them, the
Um,
people, but treat the time with them.
well, you know what? I tell you something. I treat it the same in certain ways. Number
Okay.
one, I feel like every single person I come into encounter with, even if it's not a consult, I'm talking my daily life, everyone's a potential client. So
Yep.
I feel like I'm always trying to look my best, act my best, be my best all the time, because you never know how someone can think back to you, and you want to be remembered. And
Yeah.
that's what I try to do, is everywhere I go, I want to be remembered. So when I go into a 2 hour consult, one of the things I do let people know off immediately is that I only offer this once per client. So in other words, a client can't keep coming back to me for room, for room, for room, because I don't, I mean, I want to do these, but I don't want to do so many of them. I don't have time for full service.
Right.
So that's another way
That's
of
smart.
them trying me and realizing, well, you know what? I do want to use her for the rest of my house, but I'm gonna have to hire her full time.
Got it.
So, that's one way. Also is, I want to go in there, I want to do a great job, the same as I would in a full service. It's just moving at a quicker pace because I want people to come into their house and love it and then her refer me to other people, whether it's another 2 hour consult or whether it's another full service job.
Right.
So it's moving quicker and it's a
Yep.
much faster pace.
Yep.
And I sometimes have to kind of really push it along because we will get
Hmm.
sidetracked in conversations. Otherwise, we won't get it accomplished. And I'll just say, we got to move on so that I can get everything you have on your list done.
Got it. Yeah. So it's
Very
important.
intentional about that.
Yeah. So it's important that if you're doing this in this way, that it's done with intention and thought, so that at the end of the time together, you can feel confident that you've come to do what you came to do.
Right.
Right.
And the
And it's smart
client
too.
is confident.
Exactly. And it's smart too that you understand that even if this particular person isn't a long-term fit as a full service client, that you still treat it just as importantly, you nurture them just as much, knowing that they're going to go hopefully share your name with their friends, and that can lead to future work, which is really playing the long game. And I think that's wise.
And one of the things I do is, when these 2 hour consults are over, I always follow up with an email. I tell them to send me pics as they get stuff. Sometimes
Oh,
I'll
that's
post
smart.
it on my story. So it's like I don't terminate the relationship, you
Got it.
know, at the end of it. I mean, I encourage them, if you have a quick question, of course I'm going to answer it, even though you didn't pay me. I'm saying I'm not going to spend 10, 15 minutes, but I want to, it can create great content for my social media. There's all kinds of
Mhm.
benefits.
Yeah.
So,
It
and
goes
all
both
those
ways.
things help.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. Um, yeah, and I think it's important that designers who are listening to this, who, maybe are in their infancy of their business, recognize that, one of the things I talk about is there is no one size fits all approach to how you run your business, right? So what you have decided works really well for your business is choosing to offer this 2-hour consultation, even if it's not always going to be with these clients who could potentially, be these bigger projects, which are always kind of fun to sink your teeth into, but you really look at it from a business development standpoint as well as probably a creative outlet. Whereas another designer, I think listening to this, it's important to ask yourself and choose, like, would this be something that would work well for me? And if not, that's okay too, right? Because it's not a model that's going to work for everybody. And I think that we have to be mindful that uh, you know that's okay too. One of the things that I offered for many years was Designer for a Day, which is a similar service, but it's a 6-hour service. And it was really helpful for a period of time. I'm not offering them as much anymore, but it acted the same way. We did, poured ourselves into the design, gave them results, and inevitably I would get a call back to take the project on from there. And that was always fun for me. So makes a lot of sense. I want us to talk about creating processes because you hinted to it a minute ago, and I understand that this is one of the things that has really helped you propel your business to an sort of this new era. Obviously, you had a lot of practice raising 3 kiddos, and there's something to be said about that as well. So one of the things we talk about here a lot is protecting your creative energy. And you say that creating processes allows you to be more creative. How so?
Well, I think when you have processes in place, things run much smoother. You create less anxiety for yourself and for everyone around you, including clients.
Mhm.
Therefore, you're not expanding the energy that you would if you were kind of working in chaos or just kind of, going
Winging
with
it.
the flow and winging it. And it gives you the energy you need to actually be creative and create these incredible environments for your, clients.
Yeah.
Um, One thing I noticed from being a mom is, kids, everyone does better, especially children, but I think it extends to all of us as humans when
Hmm.
they feel safe and secure
Hmm.
and they know expectation.
Hmm.
And that's one thing I keep in mind with every client, making sure they know expectation from the minute they interact with me as a potential client to the end of the project.
Hmm.
So helping them know what's happening, what's going to happen, how it's going to work makes everything smoother. And I learned that with my
100%.
kids,
Yeah.
just like you tell your children. Okay, well,
Right.
we're going to go to the park today, and then I'll give you a snack there, and we're going to meet some friends. And the minute they don't know the plan, they fall apart.
Oh my God.
Same with the client. The
Yeah.
minute they don't know the plan, they fall apart.
Yeah.
So, part of that process is having emails in place
Yeah.
that are very kind of rote that make
Hmm.
it easy when I get the first point of contact. I have, when someone inquires, I will not even schedule a phone call till I've sent them like a whole brochure about myself because it has pricing in there, which I don't put on my website. And,
Hmm.
if the client, it feels like I've priced them out, they may not even want a phone conversation. So it eliminates the hassle of the phone conversation if they're really not a quality candidate.
Right.
Um, I have things in place. To me, another thing about having processes is bringing people on, whether you hire them to work in your office or you're hiring them virtually or remotely, even like, for instance, an accountant, a bookkeeper. They
Hmm.
may not be in your life every day, but the amount of energy and time you save by having someone handle that part of the business
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
huge.
Oh
If you
yeah.
don't fan things out, which is part of processes, you don't have time to design. you're so busy managing everything and
Yeah.
trying to do it, you can't do it. No one can do it all.
Yeah, and you're using a different part of your brain when you're running the business than when you're designing and creating. And I just finished an interview earlier where we were talking about this, and it's like, yes, as a business owner, you need to understand all of these aspects: scheduling, specifying, ordering, design, scale, balance, symmetry, all that stuff. You don't have to be an expert at all of it. And when you're small, you're going to have to wear a lot of hats, and as you grow, you can hire people to support you in your shortcomings. But especially when you're small and when you are trying to do it all, it is so important, I think, as we're discussing here, to protect your creative energy and give yourself time and space to work on those certain aspects of your job that are required, like billing, if that's what you're doing, the accounting, the ordering, that sort of stuff. And then really protecting the time in your week to block off time for design, because bouncing back and forth is just working different parts of your brain, and it's very hard. I mean, we talk about context switching from in your brain, it's very hard to switch back and forth. And so having those creative, or excuse me, those processes in place are really important. I want to hear from you specifically, because I can already hear designers who are listening to this asking, Kate, ask her this question. Can you get real specific with us? Tell us, how have you chosen to document your processes in your business? Do you have it through Google Docs? Do you use Asana? What are you using to keep yourself and your
I
team
use,
organized?
well, for me, because I'm not the most computer literate,
Yeah,
Google Docs seems to be, for me, the easiest, best way. It's easy for me to update it when I make changes, so I
yeah,
can go in and change the process or whatever.
sure.
Um, you know, I don't, I'm not I'm great at keeping a list, on paper of all my to-dos. I'm not great at having to input that into a computer and
Mhm,
document like that. That's just not me. I'm not going to probably delegate in that way either.
mhm.
So the Google Docs for me has been the best. And, like you
Love it.
said earlier, it may not fit the bill for everyone, but for me, it seems to be one of the best ways for me to operate my business. And
Right.
lots
And
of
that's actually why I asked, because I wanted to showcase to those listening that you've got to work with systems that work best for your brain and the way you think and the way you operate. And, I'll take my assistant, Megan, for example. She is a ClickUp expert and guru. And so we switched to ClickUp, and that's what we use internally now to stay organized. On the Designer's Oasis side, I still use Asana for the design business, but it confuses me. It's too complex. It's too God bless. I'm like, you use it. I'm going to use my notes app over here to keep myself
right,
organized,
right.
because it's just not a program that works the way that my brain works. And so I think the point being is that document your processes in whatever way you're going to use it. If using a big fancy software is you're not going to use it, then there's no point in doing it. And so I think it's important that you recognize it can be as simple as a Google Doc. Hey there, designer. Have you checked out the Designer's Oasis shop lately? If not, you are really missing out. Not only did the shop get a glow up, making it super easy to find exactly what you're looking for, but we've also added some amazing new digital products with courses coming soon. Hold on to your hat, friend. You have to check out the brand spanking new Project Budget Calculator. With this tool, so much of the hard work is already done for you. All you have to do is plug in the project details and it will tally up the project budget for you. Go through the relevant categories such as furnishings, lighting, kitchen and bath. It even includes popular specialty designs such as built-ins, wallpaper install, and fireplace design. Pick which products you'll need and the quantity, and then choose the good, better, or best pricing options. The pricing is already there for you by default, but with one simple click, you can always adjust if necessary. It's flexible, it's fast, it's easy, and it is the last budget tool you'll ever use in your interior design business. Oh, what's that? Can you create different budgets for different rooms? Oh, heck yeah, girl. I even designed it to add it all up onto one master sheet so you can easily present that to your clients if you'd like. Head over to the shop to check out all our new products and get 10% off your first order when you use the code SHOP10 today. That's designersoasis.com/shop and use the code SHOP10 for 10% off your first purchase. So I hear that you have hired your first, well, actually, I don't know if this is your first, but you've hired a chief operating officer, and you say my biggest regret was not hiring her sooner. Talk to me about hiring, and what was the biggest thing that held you back before you hired her?
Well, one of the things I've done in my business is before I hired her, I kind of farmed out responsibilities to different consultants. For example, I hired an accountant. I have a separate bookkeeper other than my accountant, things like that. But no, I had no one in place to keep me organized on a daily basis,
Mm.
like within my office realm. It was more, outside of that daily.
Yeah.
And I'm organized, but I hired a girl who is even more organized, who is a stickler, which I need.
Mhm.
We came up with ways for me to, you get orders, you've got to have ways of documenting and tracking all the orders, knowing when something's here, when it's supposed to be here. She came up with a great system to help me. I was kind of doing it not as well as I should because I didn't have time to go back and keep documenting. And
Yeah.
she, is able to do that for me. She also can pinch hit for me when I need, to be at two clients at once, which, she's willing to help me out with.
Mm.
Um, a lot of it for me with her was scheduling and keeping my life organized within the office, you know, figuring out about samples. It sounds, she's probably doing a lot more than just a chief operating officer would do,
Yeah.
but, that's just part of a small business. We all kind of do things when we need to, but she communicates a lot with the bookkeeper and the accountant. She's
Mhm.
understanding the money coming in, the money going out, all of that.
I love that. And I have to say that that role, although it's carried different titles for me in my own business, has been for me the most beneficial, because I certainly can do those things. You could do those things, but it frees you up to do the things that are in your zone of genius when you can pass off some of those things, and she can do it better, right? You can
A
do it.
hundred
Just because you can
percent.
doesn't mean you should do it. And so I think, especially for creatives. And this was actually one of my first challenges in hiring. I know I got very lucky. My very first hire was one of the best people, who I've ever worked with, who could do design and stay super organized. But after that, hiring someone to manage all of the procurement aspect and the scheduling alone. I mean, think about all of the meetings with contractors and with vendors and with clients. And that's the sort of thing that just drives me crazy. But it's one of the best assets to your business because it allows you to move projects along faster as you can continue to work on the design. So
Uh,
anytime somebody asks me, okay, I think I'm ready to hire, who should I hire? I always suggest hire somebody that can do the stuff that you don't want to do. And as creatives, it's typically those sort of mundane, tedious tasks
right,
of
right, right.
procurement and that sort of thing. But I did struggle early on with hiring people who were just like me and they wanted to be doing the creative work alongside me. And that was great. But what I really needed was somebody who had the mind of like that was a designer. And so once I figured that out, I did much better.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. You tend to also like hire people you get along with really well and you have the same interest. And that's
Yeah.
not necessarily the best
Yeah.
when it's your business and you're trying to expand it. You need to get people that do things better, like you said, and that you don't really care to do all the time.
Yes, exactly. Truth be told, you don't want me ordering your stuff because it was just let's make sure somebody else does this because it'll be better if somebody else does it. Um, so I want to move the conversation a little bit to this idea of selling yourself and talking about your value when it comes to those early conversations with clients. And I know that a lot of designers come into this business and well, this was true for me. We don't have sales background. Some people do, right? And if you do, it's going to serve you really, really well. I did not. I had a design background and I knew design, but I didn't know anything about selling. My first coach was a sales coach and really helped me uncover that aspect. So but it's really important, right? We have to be able to sell ourselves. We have to be able to clarify what it is we do, how we do it, why we do it. And we need to be able to articulate that clearly with clients. And I love what you say. You keep it real simple. You're like, be a problem solver, right? Presenting yourself as a problem solver can be a way that clients can overcome maybe some underlying hesitations to hiring a designer. So can you talk more to me about how we can position ourselves as problem solvers, especially in those early conversations with potential clients?
Sure. So like you said earlier, I really do consider every single thing I do a problem for a client because whether it's, they want you to come in and redo their whole room, the problem is they're unhappy with their room. You're going to make it better. That's the problem. It's no different than your air conditioning breaking and someone has to come and fix it. You're fixing it for them. It doesn't matter how, in the beginning, I would take on very small projects, anything I could get my hands on just
Sure.
so I could have something. And, so they might be little teeny problems, but they're still problems. And I think that's something I don't necessarily use the word problem when I'm talking to clients, but I will say, I understand you're unhappy with this or you want to brighten this space up. You're describing problems without saying it's a problem. And I think one of the things I do a lot is when I'm meeting with clients, I repeat things they say back to them. You know, they'll tell me, oh, I don't like this rug. I want to redo this room. It's, dark. And so I'll say, okay, I understand, and this could be on the phone. You want to brighten up the space. There's some pieces of furniture you're not happy with. I can do all that for you. This
Mhm.
is something I do all the time for lots of people.
Mhm.
You're describing the problem. You can use the word problem. I just wouldn't use it a lot just because problem can be associated in a negative capacity.
Yeah.
One thing I really try to do with everything in my business is position, even in my daily contact with my accountant or my bookkeeper, I try to make sure everything I say is positive in a positive way. I
Yeah.
try not to have like, well, we got a problem.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to a contractor, well, I have a situation that I need some help.
Yeah.
You know, People react so much better
Yeah.
when they know there's not doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And you don't sometimes realize how you get caught up in it. So,
Yeah.
that's another thing, being very positive when I'm talking to my clients about their issues or problems. Um, and you end up selling it without even realizing you're selling it. Just because
Mhm.
I've had clients say, well, what would you do? How would you how would you change this? And I said, well, one of the first things we would do is we'd come in and change your paint color. I'd pick out a smaller coffee table for you. Um, you know, we correct these issues.
Right. Right.
I
Yep.
think, the way you phrase things
Yeah.
can make or break it for you.
Well, 100%. It's all in how you frame it. And I love that you keep things in a positive light because, for so long there was this popular idea of selling to people based on pain point marketing, right? You market to people based on their pain points. And I really love that we're entering this new era of uh, marketing, which is really more based on the potential, right? It's looking at the outcome, it's future pacing. And for me, as someone who is in business for myself in multiple ways, that sits better with my soul. I'm like, that I can do. That feels a lot better. And selling, there is this idea, no wonder people have an icky feeling about selling, right? Because for so long we had this vision of, a, what am I trying to say? A used car salesman, nothing against used car salesmen, but like there's that persona, and that's what we think of as selling. And selling is really just helping, right? And so if you can frame it that way, you're in a good spot.
And the only other thing I want to add is
Yeah.
that, one thing you should keep in mind, and I just think, it, it, it becomes more natural, is people hire you if they like you. And, you can have the best portfolio in the world and walk into a meeting, and if they don't like you, they may not be able to tell you why, but they're not
Yeah.
going to hire you.
Yeah.
So creating a positive, conversation and just conversation, you're
Yeah.
50% there, you know,
Yep.
and people get so caught up in their portfolio and, and the bottom
Mhm.
line is you got to be likable. So just make yourself likable, that is a huge part of the business.
Well, and I mean, it almost sounds trite when you say it, but it's really not, because it's I'm remembering a time when in our first home we were going to renovate our basement, and I was interviewing a couple of contractors, and this one contractor came in, and it was like, well, you can't do that because of X, Y, and Z, and you can't do that because of this, and well, that's going to be a challenge, and oh, and that's going to cost a lot of money. And the whole time he was just poking holes in what we were wanting to do. The next guy comes in and he's like, yeah, we can do this. I got quotes from both of them. I guarantee you, the second guy's bid was not the cheapest, but that's who we went with because I didn't want to work with the guy who was negative the whole
Right.
time.
Right.
So it's true, how you frame things is really, really important, and just being careful with your words.
Right.
So we're talking about business development and selling and getting clients. I noticed on your website that you offer a monthly design magazine. You also have a blog where you share design inspiration, behind the scenes on projects, and more. How do you see those aspects of your business impacting business development? Is it worth the time to invest in those features?
I 100% feel it's worth the time in both.
Yeah.
For the newsletter, it's a way of capturing interest and reminding people every month that you're still there.
Yeah.
They're going to get a monthly reminder. Um, I have I kind of cheat a little bit in the way that I use a service called the Social Vault, okay?
Okay.
That you can sign up and you pay a fee, and there's all different things they offer. They offer, I mean, they'll, newsletter formats that you can take and, copy, or, they'll even send it out for you.
Oh, wow.
They have blog posts where they don't write them for you. They offer that service, but they'll give you the prompts to help you write the blogs. And it's one of the best investments I've made because it makes doing those things, taking the time to come up with a monthly newsletter for me would be tedious, and I wouldn't have the time. The fact that I can go on the website,
Yeah.
find something that's pertinent, they have tons of choices, download it, and kind of customize it with my own pictures. And,
Smart.
I'll change the verbiage here and there. It's huge for the
I
blogs. The
I love
same
that.
thing. And the thing about the blogs that I really like is it does help you with Google, because
Yep.
the more you publish them, it's funny, when I publish a bunch of blogs, all of a sudden I start getting inquiries from Google. If I
Yep.
go periods without it, it becomes quiet in that way. So you see it. I mean, it takes some time
Yeah.
to build it up, but if you
Yeah.
keep at it, it's worth it. A
Yeah, and you
hundred.
could even batch that work too. So you're not having to do it every single month. You can sit and
Right,
write, three at a time, and then you're just doing it once a quarter.
right,
And the best part about it, what I love when I'm looking at yours is, you're writing about things that you're already doing a lot of the time. So whether it's a project reveal or it's, how you solved a problem for a client, that's really smart in my opinion, because you're doing a couple of things. Number one, you're showcasing to prospective clients your ability to solve problems and to get a
right.
project done. You're also staying top of mind because you're sending out that monthly newsletter, but you're also, helping improve your SEO. So it's, to me, a very smart investment, whether you're hiring someone to do it, whether you're using a hybrid cheat sheet model like you are, which I think is great, or doing it fully from scratch, whatever your path is, I think doing it is quite smart.
Yes, it's huge. It's huge. And clients kind of, people really invest time in looking in websites and doing all that. And it kind of lets them into a peek of who you are and your personality, especially
Right.
when they start reading your blogs. So,
100%.
I've had clients call and refer to blogs. Well, I want, you said you did this in this project I saw on your blog.
Yeah.
So, it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, with the newsletter, right? When you get them on your email list and growing an email list
Yes.
is honestly something I never did as a designer. I had a freebie download, I had blogs, I had all that, but I never did the newsletter. And I assure you, should I choose to go back to design full time, that will for sure be one of the first things we
Right.
do. But I think about the clients who start to research designers long before they're ready to reach out and engage, right?
Yes.
That is a perfect way for somebody who maybe they're moving, right? Maybe they're moving to Atlanta, but they're not moving until the summer. They haven't even bought a house yet.
Right.
And
Right.
they're researching and they're going to come across your website, compare you to designer B.
Right.
Designer B doesn't have that, but you do. So she signs up for your newsletter.
Right.
Fast forward 6 months later, she can't even remember who the other designer
Right.
was because she doesn't
Right.
have, they weren't staying in touch. And here you are staying in touch once a
Yes.
month. And to me, the once a month thing feels so doable, right? Maybe
Yes,
a
it
weekly
is.
blog is outside of your bandwidth. It would be for me, but monthly seems totally, totally doable.
Yes. For the newsletter, 100%.
Yes, exactly.
Really is.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. I'd love to wrap up with this question, thinking about the future and what's ahead for you and your career. Is there something right now that feels really exciting for you that you're looking forward to in the year ahead, whether that's a project, whether that's something you're hoping to call in and beckon into your career? What's getting you up in the morning these days?
I really love what I do. And what I look forward to the most is just more and more projects.
Yeah.
You can always get bigger, you can always get better, in terms of the projects. And that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to. Another thing I really look forward to is, family is really important to me. And one of the things when I came up with a name for my firm, it was Morse Design. With my intention was really, hopefully one day I would have one, if not all of my girls working with me. They're
Yeah.
all super creative. They've all, they're all got different jobs now, but, I would love one day, and I look forward to that day when I could have one of them, if not all of them, really come and work in the business with me. I mean, it really
Yeah.
motivates me with that idea in mind, that
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah.
become have enough business that we could all really support ourselves and work together as a family. That would be just the best for me.
Oh my gosh. As a mother too, that would delight me beyond measure. I actually just did a podcast recording with Gideon Mandelson, who has kids, my kids' ages, and I asked him the same questions, like, because his mother was a designer and he sort of, got his start working with her.
Right.
And so there's that legacy aspect to
Right.
it. And I'm shameless about it. I'm like, I would be lying if I said I didn't like sneak in little design lessons here and there and point out like architectural features of buildings and start to build their vocabulary or ask their opinion. Like, what do you think about this? What would you do here? And like, let them come in the office and let them play with materials. So I have an agenda. It's I'm
It's a
shameless
good
about it.
one.
Ultimately, whatever they end up doing, I will support them fully, no matter what it is. But I can definitely see that he's less so with his kids, but it's just, to me, I think, really fun to think about the idea of working with your kids and giving something that you can pass on and can become a legacy. So
Yes, I would love it.
wonderful. Oh, I love that. Would you mind sharing before we go, where can people find you online?
Yes. The name of my online website, it's Andi Morse Design, and it's Morse, Morse, not Morris. And you go there, it has all the information, it has a contact form sheet, everything.
Wonderful. And how about on Instagram? Are you there?
Yes, my handle on Instagram is Morse Design. And I have people contact me that way all the time. It's just through private messaging, which is great.
Cool. Wonderful. Well, Andi, it has been a delight and a pleasure to spend this time with you. I thank you for your time and for your willingness to share your insights with our listeners. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
And thank you so much for having me. It was very fun.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey friend, thank you so much for letting me spend a part of this day with you. I'm so passionate about helping designers like you, and I believe in a rising tide, that when one of us does well, we all do better. So if you share this attitude of abundance with me, I want you to do just one little thing. Please share this episode with someone you think might love it. And if you're feeling extra generous today, go ahead and take just 30 seconds to open your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's free for you to do, and it helps me to be able to keep making more episodes and resources for you. However you choose to help, please know I appreciate you so very much. Thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you soon.